Hello and welcome to the 4th episode of Three Men and a Movie with me, Richard, and...
Me, Gareth.
And me, Michael.
And today we are discussing the M. Night Shyamalan film, The Visit. I'm going to call him M. Night from now on.
As he's also written in all of my notes as M. Night.
Yes.
I mean, well, just to help you out, Shyamalan.
Or Mr. Knight.
That as well.
That could work. But I thought before we entered the main event, we just have an idea of what kind of films we've been watching recently. Anything that's interested us?
Does it have to be horror related?
It does not have to be horror related.
The most recent is I've seen The Meg.
Oh.
About the big megalodon shark.
Did Jason punch a shark?
Not quite.
I'm not going.
I shouldn't have said
I'm
that.
not going now. I thought he was going to punch the
Well,
shark.
I went in hoping no. Well, he kind of did, but also didn't. But you'd have to see it to see why.
Oh, very good. Non-spoilers for this.
Non-spoilers, absolutely no non-spoilers.
I recently watched, which I hope we might cover at some point, A Quiet Place.
Oh, I love
Which,
that.
spoilers for the podcast, I gave it a 10.
Oh, I see. For the inevitable podcast that we actually do on it. Yes,
I'm looking forward to this one.
It was incredible.
Oh, it was good, really
Apparently they're already in talks of a sequel.
I know.
I read that straight away because I thought to myself, I watched it, I want it to be one standalone film that I'll always remember.
It feels right as a standalone film.
It's
Typed
part
into
of this
my phone.
slew of movies, horror movies, written, directed and starring comedic actors at the moment.
Yeah,
he's
Few
from The
coming
Office,
round.
isn't
He
he?
is from The
Yeah,
Office,
the American version, not the British one.
Which is actually better than the British one, in my opinion, but that's something
Okay,
else.
well that's
So
just going on a
much.
total tangent. You know, I just thought this would be a nice brief intro.
But yeah, John Krasinski, incredible, and his wife, real life wife, Emily Blunt, amazing.
Yeah, I only found out because of the movie my dad told
Yeah.
me. I've just I've just had a lot of family in the house. I've had to go to bed early, so I've been catching up on a lot of movies in bed.
Oh, awesome.
So,
Oh, not those kind of movies.
no, not that.
Oh, that's okay.
Smutty.
But Wind Chill with Emily Blunt. Anyone? The horror?
I've heard of it, not
Yeah.
seen it, but heard of it.
I do like her as an actress because I recently watched Quiet Place and that Girl on the Train.
Oh, Girl on the Train, yeah.
I've not watched that yet.
And so anything with her,
Good thriller, nice.
I'm
Good
bought
thriller.
in. So
Mary Poppins for you then next.
brilliant. So anything else,
yes.
Michael, in bed?
Anything else in bed? Yes, I
What?
recently watched
Film based, of
the
course.
first 3 seasons of Rick and Morty.
And didn't you say you'd watched the newest Blair Witch as well?
Yes, watched the latest Blair Witch, which is a direct sequel to the first one. Don't know what half of the critics are on about. It's not nearly as bad as they
really
made
like it.
out.
I heard,
It was all
I've
right.
not seen it, but I heard they slammed it.
I really liked it.
There's a bit.
I own it. Obviously, I own
They
the
show a
second
lot more
one
than the
because-
first one, which
Yeah.
I think didn't work as much for that reason, but I still enjoyed it. It was good.
I think for today's audience, you have to show a bit more, unfortunately.
It doesn't always work that way, does it?
So I immediately went out and bought the first one to watch again as
Yeah.
well.
And the second one, Book of Shadows,
I haven't picked it up
I
yet.
have the
but
special edition if you wish to buy them.
What does the special edition contain that's better
Two
than the regular?
discs full of extras. I've
Fantastic.
not watched
Does it
them.
contain the original cut before the studio
No,
got involved?
just-
That's what I want to see.
Just 2 discs of extras, which I will never watch, but 50p, so
Can't go wrong.
can't go wrong.
Oh, and I finished, well no, I've done season 3 of 12 Monkeys and season 2 of The Expanse. I've now got to watch the next ones when available.
And I watched a little known 80s slasher called Blood Rage, which had the most obvious twist ever, which was brilliant. I loved it. It was the acting was awful, the women were just, they whipped their panties off every time they could, gore was excellent.
We're trying not to get shut down by the HW Internet Brigade, by the way.
But anyway, Blood Rage, watch it.
Who's in it?
God knows. Just people who can't act, which I love. 80s slasher, classic. And I also watched the I Spit on My Grave, on Your Grave remake, which I watched on my own because I dared. I even shut the curtains because I was that worried how awful it would be in terms of brutalness, and I needed to shut.
If I remember correctly, about the writer that goes to the cabin, is
Yeah.
that a Spit in Your Grave? I remember seeing the original a long time ago.
And it isn't even the assault bit, which is it's her revenge. Oh, good lord. But yeah, really good. I actually think better than the original because the original was pretty poorly made. But yeah. Anyway, less of that. Should we get to the main event?
Main event.
Main event.
Let's do
Yes. We are covering The Visit by Mr. Knight. 6.2 on IMDb. A bit low in my opinion, but we'll get
I
to
think
that
that's
later.
unfairly low.
Around
yes.
65, 67 on Rotten Tomatoes critic score.
And a 55 on Metacritic,
Correct,
if anyone
yeah.
looked.
Yeah.
Metacritic.
So I think that's
It makes it sound like a very average film, doesn't it? And it's certainly much more than that.
I think. I mean,
I think they were being harsh because it was M Night.
I think because
And then
this
what he did
followed
before
After
of it.
Earth, didn't it?
Oh,
Yeah,
let's not
because
talk
he
about it.
actually self-budgeted this.
Yes.
From his profits from After Earth,
profits
yeah.
from After Earth, because he wanted total control back, which he hadn't had
I'm
since.
glad we've all read the trivia. I'm really happy with all of
IMDb
that.
trivia. I
Yeah.
did it at 7 o'clock tonight. It's off 7 now. But yeah, he actually self-budgeted this because I think this was the first one he'd had total control on since The Village. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And because he had a really bad reputation at one point for he used to be really good when he made his first set of movies. Everyone knows The Sixth Sense. Everyone knows Unbreakable. I love both of them. As
Did you
everyone else.
also
Signs, obviously.
Signs. It's Signs. It's
Helped
like
to
a
write
mixed review.
Stuart Little. About the little mouse, Stuart Little, the first one. He helped to write that,
Well,
yeah.
that was
Oh my
well
goodness.
received as well.
Well, of course
wasn't
it was. Yeah.
And he came up with the story for Devil.
Oh, I
Which
love
I
Devil.
really like,
I do
yeah.
like Devil. Yeah.
I haven't watched any of his bad films in quotation marks because that's just what you hear, they're bad.
A guilty pleasure, I think, for me is The
I knew you
Happening.
were going to say The Happening.
I
love
liked the first 5 minutes.
I love it so much. It's so.
I recorded
stupid.
it. I recorded it off telly a couple of days ago. Recorded.
On your VHS player.
Yes.
Oh
obviously,
yes, of course. Yeah. Did
putting-
you overwrite a precious family?
family
event?
wedding? Yes.
Yes.
Have
On
a little
that.
bit some sellotape over the little gap.
It's actually my Betamax, but I want to watch it because I've heard it's terrible in a good way.
Yes.
But I have.
Yes,
Has
very
anyone
much so.
seen? Was it Lady in the
Lady in the Water.
No, I haven't.
I was so looking forward to that. Now, what happened was, I got it through ulterior means, should I say? And it stopped halfway through.
Sounds dodgy.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh,
right, so-
Yeah, so I never actually finished it.
Those damn ulterior means.
Yeah, but it was a film I was looking forward to, and then I just never finished it.
How was the first half? Are you glad it stopped?
Yes and no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you've watched half a film, so I suppose you want to see how it all
Yeah.
ends.
And I've never watched After Earth.
No.
I tried to twice. By all accounts, it was Will Smith that practically directed that anyway.
Yeah.
And his son's in it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It just starts off terrible.
I mean, I like what's that other film he's in with Jackie Chan? The Karate Kid remake.
Remake.
I actually like that film, and he's all right in that.
Not watched it.
That wasn't terribly received, was it? I thought
No, it wasn't
got okay
terribly received,
reviews.
but a lot of the
Was he,
flack for him.
was he also the lad in the Dead Ears Sword Still remake, I believe?
I'm going to give a hard pass on that one.
With
I
the
don't know.
ultimate actor Keanu Reeves,
So,
who is what 55 now and looks 10 times better than this. Can you believe that?
So he
well, I
did.
forgot what video.
He did The Visit, and what's his most recent one?
Split,
Split.
which I absolutely
which is
love.
excellent. So he is back on form.
And I also love
I'd say.
that Before the End, which I don't know. It came out last year, so it's a bit early.
Oh,
still, I think, to get
yeah,
into
how
it.
it tied in
yeah.
with I mean that's a great film, isn't it? Split. I think
Great
we can
film even
agree-
without
We can
that.
agree on that.
Yeah.
Comes into something I'm going to bring up about this film as well.
Mm.
From all of them. Now, what I did was, the reason I found out about Stuart Little is I thought I'm going to see what the way is, how many good and how many to bag.
Oh, I did think about doing that.
So I'm not going to class his first two.
Oh,
By the
okay,
way,
this'll
from
be
Prayer,
fun, this'll
from
be
Prayer
fun.
to an Angel. You've technically not seen them.
No.
All right. So The Sixth Sense,
Amazing.
Amazing.
Unbreakable,
Amazing.
Signs.
Loved it.
I do like Signs.
It's got Mel Gibson in it.
Mixed reviews, weirdly.
I'm going to
There was
go.
a nod to Signs in this.
Yeah, there was, yeah.
I'm going to go. Still very good.
Okay.
Okay.
Even
It's
though
very
people-
watchable. You could hardly
Oh,
say
yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
nowhere bad.
No.
Even if you
There is
don't-
a bit of internal logic that doesn't work.
Yeah,
at
the
end,
obvious
but
twist which doesn't with the
But then
water.
that's only like War of the Worlds,
where
where...
it's germs.
Exactly.
That was a terrible film.
I hate that. That Tom
With
Cruise
Tom
one,
Cruise
yeah.
on. Oh, I'm
With
not-
it being under the earth for hundreds of thousands.
But that's
of
the
years.
book.
I know it is, but I don't... Yeah, but there's an original War of the Worlds film, isn't there?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, but they still get killed by germs.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, but it's not that. The actual film itself and what they made changes of was terrible.
I've got no issue.
I'm just drawing the parallel
I like
between-
it because I could stare at Tom Cruise all day long.
Okay.
Okay, that's
Please,
what I said.
Michael, carry on.
Yes,
Hurry,
okay.
Please.
Now, The Village.
I really liked it.
I liked it, apart from two things. One, it didn't need the twist at the end.
No, you are correct.
And number two, it is a basic rip-off of a radio show written by Thomas Nigel Neal, most famous in the UK for writing the Quatermass series. The man who made the BBC move away from radio dramas with cameras in front into actual shows of a story he done called The Road. Basically, exact same premise. Alright.
Okay.
But
it's still not a bad film.
Still not a bad film.
No.
At the minute, he's really winning. Lady in the Water, I can't judge that one. What I watched.
I haven't seen it.
Like, The Happening.
I haven't seen it.
Right, I like it. It's a guilty pleasure, but let's be honest, it's
That's another Marky Mark in it.
yeah, Mark Wahlberg.
Well,
and Zoe
Sean
Deschanel,
is
who is
then.
not good in that. She's not good in
It's
that.
I
Marky
love
Mark.
Zoe Deschanel.
What do you think of her in The Happening, though?
I don't...
I can't wait
We're
to
gonna
get
get
home.
on-
I'm going to watch it when I get home.
We'll get on to that
I've got
bit
it, I've got
later.
it, I've got it.
No,
You recorded
I
it,
record
yeah.
that on Channel 5.
We will get on to a
They're all
certain
the
part of
Channel
that
5.
later.
Okay.
Last Airbender.
Not seen it, but I'm not interested in the
Okay.
source material,
Sorry.
and I've just heard generally it's not very good. But again, a lot of studio interference with that one.
Well, that's what he said, isn't it?
After Earth,
I've heard it's awful.
Same.
season 1 of Wayward Pines, he helped create.
He did what? Yeah, I mean, he directed one episode as well.
And didn't he create the overall arc, didn't he help bring it together?
I didn't mind Wayward. I thought it was quite good.
I watched the season 1, thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Season 2 gave up after 1 episode.
I was a bit unsure because one of the main actors in it,
He left straight away.
and I don't really like him anyway.
In season 2, you mean?
No, season 1.
Don't say Toby Jones.
No,
He's one of my favourite actors.
Matt Dillon, don't like him.
Matt Devon. I think I like him. But anyway.
He was good in there. He was good in Wayward Pines, though.
Anyway, carry on with the list.
The Visit.
Well, we'll get on to that.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
talk about
And
later.
Split.
Love Split,
Love Split.
absolutely love Split.
Now,
When you take into account...
if I take into account the ones I haven't seen, he has had a flawless record. Because I've not seen any of his bad
even
films.
if the ones you've not seen are as bad as we
It's-
think they may
it's-
be.
Well,
not
that's what surprised. That's what I'm
terrible.
getting at. What surprised me is
He's got this reputation for up and down filmmaking.
yeah, but he's done a lot more better.
That's
than
what I mean,
good.
And
yeah.
this
His
was like
reputation
this was
is
seen as like
undeserved.
his final return to form, when
Yeah.
really he'd only been off for a couple of
Has he
films.
ever really dropped off?
Well, depending what differences they made on the changes, the studio changes, you don't know.
I'd like to see his what was the last film? Oh, not After Earth.
Split.
Those
The Happening, Last Airbender,
I can't remember which one it was.
Lady in the Water.
Oh, great, I've lost it. It was tip of my
But we've
tongue.
been through them all.
No, I'm not saying there's
Well,
one.
then
we're
you
missing.
take into account his help he's done, Stuart Little, fantastic film, and Devil came up with the story because
I really
he wanted
like
to start
I
creating
do
all
like
dark.
Devil, yeah.
He wanted to do like a Twilight Zone series of films under his name, didn't he? And I think, all in all, I think his reputation, his bad reputation, is very much undeserved. If you look at some directors now,
Let's be honest, he takes chances,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah.
You know, there is a similar theme in his film. Obviously,
Do
he
you
always has
think-
the big twist.
with The
But-
Village, they pushed the twist, maybe.
Maybe, but I think he likes sticking that twist in. You can't tell me.
He loves a good twist, and I think that's why I like most of the films I've
But
seen.
he
of his.
does. I mean, this is totally different from his other
Oh,
films.
yeah,
yes, there is a
absolutely, yeah.
twist in it, but it's not a twist like go,
It's a slow burning
yeah, it's
reveal.
very
It's not
much-
a big bam, bam, bam.
and you get the twist. And what I liked is you got that twist about 15 minutes before it finished, and then you got the constant
Yeah.
tension for that last
I
15 minutes.
won't spoil it right now, but when I first watched this and that twist happened, I almost fell out. Well, I didn't fall out of my seat. You know, figure of speech.
Didn't
I nearly
you?
fell out of my
I
seat.
figured it out around the nappy soon.
Well, but I just the way that sudden moment, which we'll get into. I'll get into.
I figured it out when the lady came who used to work with them in the
Oh, yes.
hospital, and she was having an argument outside
Yeah.
with them, and it looked like she really wasn't happy.
Yeah.
That's when I kind of twigged something was really wrong. But I think the twist, it was natural for the film. It worked. And my point, he does take chances as a filmmaker, and I like. All the films I've
There's not-
seen directed by him, I like. I haven't seen his more poorly thought of films.
There's not enough directors who are able to or granted the ability to make fully their own film. Now, I'm not going to deny I watch a lot of the big blockbuster films that come out. I'm not going to deny that because most of them are great. But I do like when directors get this amount of control and are allowed to do pretty much what they
And
want.
they're always entertaining as well.
Yeah.
Very entertaining.
It's like I say, I don't ever want to fully diss a movie because someone's created it, someone's got off the boat and done it, actors have got involved in it. I don't ever want to take a movie and
No,
fully
we
diss it.
destroyed the Nightmare on Elm Street.
We did, yeah. And
Well, we had some positive things to say about it. Well, I think we did.
I don't know the inner workings of making a film, and I know it's a hard thing to do. So yeah, I'd never fully diss a film. Just
I'll always try and find something.
as a consumer of the media, I'm well within my rights to have a
But-
go.
Like you were saying, most great directors made their works before they got money off studios.
Yeah.
The last great one, one of my favourites, John Carpenter's last great one with his own privately funded was In the Mouth of Madness. After that, he just never had the same, he said, risk that he took with all the others. You know.
Yeah, because I mean, my favourite director is Wes Craven. Some of his later films are a bit average. There was one with the werewolves with the lady from an Addams Family in.
Yeah, that got totally cut up and filmed about two, 3 times, didn't it? The actual end product he had not.
If you look at Wes's early work, like Last House on the Left,
Cursed
House, yeah. Last House on the Left, Hills Have Eyes. They were
Shocker.
They were grungy.
That not many people talk about.
They were grungy films. They were pretty much grindhouse.
Yeah.
Then his big break came with Nightmare on Elm Street. Then he changed the entire genre with Scream. So.
But was that Wes Craven or Kevin Williamson, the writer who wrote the script?
I think it was a combination. But anyway, Wes Craven. I could talk a lot about him. Let's get back to The Visit.
Okay.
Do you want to talk through the cast?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
The cast is quite small. And I had a quick look through what they've done before. Most of what the cast have done is TV shows, and I think he might have done that purposely because it's found footage.
Yeah.
Well, Diana Dunnigan, she's spent like 30, 40 years on the stage as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think he did that because you wouldn't want in a film. Do you get found footage films with big
They
names
don't
in?
work as well with
No.
an actor, you know, from
I
other
don't
stuff
even.
of found.
Is there one?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. It's a different, in a way, it's a different kind of acting, isn't
The
it?
Objective had sort of a well-known face, you know. I can't remember his name though.
The one from this I did recognise. Peter McRobbie, Pop.
Yeah. He's been in loads of. He's probably the most famous one I know.
Sorry?
Fantastic.
Oh, I thought you were just getting the word Pop. But yeah, he was the best actor.
He's been in a lot of stuff I recognise. Not that
Going
I've
to come
seen.
to one of my favourite scenes he's going to be in when we get to that later.
Recently, he was in Lincoln.
Yes.
I can't remember him in Lincoln.
I can.
But what I can remember him from most recently isn't a film; it's a TV series, Daredevil. He was the
Oh yes, of course,
priest
yeah.
in that.
Yeah.
He was fantastic in that, and I immediately recognised him. He's the one I immediately recognised. You had Ed Oxenbould, who was the little kid.
Tyler, yeah.
And he's done
Little bits. And he's done a lot of. He's done some independent stuff.
I thought he was really good at this.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he does the rapping, which we could say is
onto
annoying,
that.
but I quite enjoyed it.
I originally thought it might be a bit annoying, but when I look
As
back
it
on the whole
evolved
world
through
that
the
it
film.
created, it worked within the confines of that story.
Yeah.
I
I liked
really,
it. You didn't like his rapping, did you?
I did.
Gaz. Come on.
I didn't. No,
We're
I didn't.
friends,
It just.
But where the sister goes, come on, my ethnically confused brother.
Yes, I love. Yes, she has some really good lines. In this. I do like.
She
Olivia-
has hardly been in
Olivia-
anything.
Did
Well,
you
she
Jean.
was in the Sisterhood of Night, which was quite good. And there's another one I'm going to look up, is Better Watch Out from 2016, but I don't know anything about that one.
It's like, if you look at her filmography, it's small, and I thought she was really good.
Well, she only auditioned once for this part.
I know, I saw that.
Mr. Shyamalan loved her. He was.
I thought she was fantastic.
She
And I
was
thought,
really good,
Well,
yeah.
surely after this she was, because I recognised her, so I must have seen something else with her in, whether it's TV series or something. But I thought, well, she must have been loads after this, but hardly anything really.
It's another reason I like this film.
But
Because
it's only 2015.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
still
true.
time.
She's still only young. She might have still been doing school and stuff in between.
It's another reason I like this film because I don't generally get on with kids in films.
Right.
But
We
these two,
keep choosing them, don't we?
yeah. But
Yeah,
these two,
we
I
do.
really like these two.
What I was going to say before when we were talking about M. Night and going through his movies, and then you mentioned about Zooey Deschanel and
Yeah.
Happenings,
Yeah.
one of the main notes I've come up with on this is about M. Night. How good of a casting does he do in all of his movies? I'm not being funny, but for this movie, every single person worked perfect.
Yes.
And then it got
It
me
wasn't a
thinking
bad
of his
performance.
other ones. Split. You know, how well was thinking out. He is perfectly
I don't know-
cast.
Look how he changed Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
From John McClane, and then I think he
To David Dunn.
He's never been that.
Well done.
He's never.
Well
Well
done.
done. Hey!
Yes, please.
The night one.
He's never been that slow burning
Mm.
character.
Yeah,
has
true,
he,
yeah,
before? Well, I'm sure people will tell me if I'm wrong.
But
I always
even
know
so,
it's an all action
Yeah,
hero.
yeah. So even so, this is a drastic change for Bruce Willis at the time. He
Pretty
just
sure
pops
action
out
films,
action film
yeah.
now, doesn't he? Very much like Nicolas Cage now.
Yes, but Nicolas Cage is on his comeback tour.
That's what I'm talking about.
I do want to see the new Death Wish with Bruce Willis.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, what is it? Someone said it's PG-13, which is
Yeah.
what, 12
It's
for us?
18.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's Eli Roth. It's Hostel director. It's bloody as hell, apparently.
Yeah, well, Eli Roth sold out a while ago.
Well, anyway.
Anyway, what I was saying
Let's
is,
get...
his casting in his movies are fantastic.
It's fantastic.
Even, I'm guessing, The Happening, it was cast right, and even with Marky Mark, it was just the script was terrible, and Marky Mark knew it, because you think the calibre of actors he had in that film.
Which you've got to assume that the draw was to work with M. Night Shyamalan. Because at the time, at that point, at the Happening point, he was a huge director.
But then, when he did The Sixth Sense, that was... I mean, had he done anything large?
He's done a couple
Wide
of things,
Awake and Praying with Anger.
So you've got to wonder what Bruce must have read the script and thought, I'm
Definitely, yeah. Because he wrote... Did he write that as well?
Yeah.
He maybe he wanted a slight different career path.
Maybe, yeah.
And he saw this as his chance.
But like we're talking about, it worked.
Yeah, he was
Thankfully.
fantastic.
I don't know if he collaborates with the same casting director or...
Well, let's be
whatever,
honest.
but...
Bruce at that age should be playing tired.
Oh,
Cops
yeah.
have lost their way a bit.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be shaving his head and going, I'm John McClane still. Even though I love all the Die Hard films. Even
All
the
of them?
terrible fifth one.
I was going to say, even the fifth one.
Yeah, I can watch
There's only
it.
2 Die Hard films. Die Hard 1 and Die Hard 2. Die Hard 3 is a good film, but it's not a Die Hard film.
I disagree.
Die Hard 4 I like.
Die Hard 4.0.
He surfs on a jet.
No, they're not to me. There's only 2 Die Hard films. 1 and 2. The rest, I'm not saying they're bad movies, but they're not Die Hard
Okay,
movies.
if I was a serious person, which I'm not, the first one is my favourite film of all time, Die Hard, so I love it. Die Hard, Harder, I really like, despite the ejector seat scene, which has aged more than most scenes in films. Die Hard with a Vengeance, I still love it. I disagree. I think it's still a Die Hard film. I don't like the last 10 minutes when they go off somewhere else. It just ends like that. Die Hard 4, I loved it because it was John McClane again. And Die Hard 5 is terrible, but I like it.
Is that the one where they go to
Russia? That's the one where they have a live action Bugs Bunny. It's the main villain guy. He's a carrot at one point.
Brilliant.
When he's intimidated because it's like a live action Bugs Bunny.
I knew if I took the helm on this one, we would go crazy.
We've gone so much on a tangent.
We are actually.
It's going to be our first 2-hour podcast.
The listeners who probably correctly skipped 20 minutes, we are talking about The Visit.
We should put a time code.
By Mr. Knight.
I've got to listen to this about 3 times.
I feel sorry for you so much right now.
And it's a found footage film, and I've just put here on my notes. I'm going to just spell them as I put. I put ... I don't dislike found footage, which is probably how I thought when I saw it was found footage, because I'm so sick of them. There's so many of them.
There's a small place in my heart for found footage. I don't know why, but...
I used to love them, but when I see them now, I'm like, I've seen it all. But when you watch this, you haven't actually seen it all. This was really well done. And there was a reason, mostly, for her having the camera out.
Yes,
Because my massive
gripe with
ones is when the camera's always out, and sometimes it's taking shots like it's being shot like a film.
But there's a twofold reason as well. Not only is she doing it for the documentary, but it's also part of coping mechanism for when her father left.
Exactly.
She can no longer look at herself. She now tries to see the world through the camera.
That was a really good scene.
The actress in it was...
Oh, when she started to cry, that was fantastic.
It was very good.
But yeah, so you had a reason for the cameras. I really liked how they had the stationary cameras as well.
Oh, yes,
and they put them in the rooms, and it almost made me think a bit of Paranormal Activity, the good one.
Yeah.
Or good 2, is there, maybe?
Maybe 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5. We'll go 2.5, because I like the end 3. So there was a reason, for the most part. There was a bit where I've said, why is she still filming this? I think when she was running away or something, but... Okay.
Well, I have an awful disdain for found footage films. I think it stems for... we're not going to deviate, I'm just going to say this, I'm going to move on. Everyone, at the time when it came out, massively bigged up Cloverfield. And I watched it and I was just disappointed. And I think that's where my
I love Cloverfield.
I think that's where my disdain of
I
found
really think
footage
we need to
comes
start
from.
reviewing films we have massive different opinions.
Because I also tried to watch, I think it was Gareth Edwards who did it, Monsters, a very similar-ish film.
Yeah, Gareth Edwards.
Didn't like that either. And I think
then
that's...
he did Godzilla, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
And
I
like
Godzilla, yeah. But anyway,
off.
but this restored my faith a little bit in found footage films, because I really like the way this is done.
No, that's why it works so well. So, and also, I did put it is also quite realistic that the youth of today, they video everything anyway,
Yeah,
don't they?
yeah.
Yes.
Let's be honest. So it made sense the kids were videoing everything.
I went through a phase with found footage, so I must have watched 100, 150 within a couple of month period.
Ooh.
Just getting older and watching. I just went through a phase of getting found footage horror though, and I'd say maybe 10 of them were good.
I'd say I'm burned out on them, but I don't think I've many that I didn't like.
Grave Encounters 1 and 2
I
was
really
good.
liked them.
Yeah.
I thought they were really good and
Yes.
a great premise, and especially the first one when they get trapped in the hospital.
Yeah.
I was really
It
frightened.
was an excellent film.
I think Chernobyl Diaries, that was pretty awful.
I watched it again recently, and yeah, it wasn't great. I turned it off before the last 10 minutes because I just wanted to see. Because I'd watched a documentary about how they filmed it and made it look like Chernobyl and stuff. I wanted to go back and watch that film and see what they'd done, and yeah, it's not as bad as I remembered, but still very good. Still, I'm going to cut all that bit out.
Anyway, the Visit by Mr. Knight. Back onto it. I loved his use of red in the film, especially the title card.
He's done that before in another film with a different colour.
I think The Village.
No,
he used red in.
He used red in The Village. He also used red. Every time you see red in The Sixth Sense, it's a pointed out.
Yes, that was it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
spoilers for The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, how
It's
old's
a
that
film
now?
from like 97. Can't we? Is it 97?
That's a bit late.
I don't really have
1999.
Oh, 2 years out.
It's close, though. It's close.
But in this one, yes.
Yeah, good use of red, but I really like the title cards, The Visit,
Yes.
and I looked at when they showed Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning. That was
Yeah, I did
great.
like that. Yeah.
And it was always set against the snow.
Yeah.
I really liked how that worked.
It's getting dark here.
That's a good point. Anyway, yes, back to use of red, really good. Initially, I thought the little boy was really annoying with his rapping, but I loved it in the end. And my personal highlight for the first 15 minutes was the train conductor. Brilliant.
Yeah, I've got to
Starts
agree
to
with you
Richard
there.
When he
III.
was
Yes,
hit, and
yeah.
he does that, and then he hits that beat, a bit of beatboxing on the train. Brilliant.
Someone else later in the film quoted Macbeth, I think.
Yes.
it was.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 That was the post. No, that was the worker from the hospital who came to
That
visit.
was it. Yes, yeah.
And then they arrive at the house, and what I liked, there's nothing initially that scary about the setting, apart from probably the swing. The house is very, it's out in the open, but it's quite normal.
It's a modern-looking house
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
You know, you could have gone the way of using a really decrepit house or something
Yeah.
a bit more the others, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But he didn't, which I really liked.
Mm-hmm. Definitely worked in its favour, using more modern, more normal. Because the use of that was having as many things as normal and everyday as possible.
Yeah.
So when the little things started to creep in, it contrasted a little bit more, and then more and more.
I think the first time I realised something was off with the granddad, even though we'll get to the twist later, was when he was rapping at the start and he just comes and gives him a fist bump. It's like, that's a bit weird.
I thought that was just him trying to, because they've never spoken to each other. I thought it was him just trying to like bond with him a little bit.
I know, but I just...
Or at least I thought that's what the
I
film
found
was
it funny
trying to portray.
Because,
Oh yeah.
Because I think the point we need to make, this is not straight horror, it's definitely a black comedy for me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
With really scary moments.
There was 3 versions of the film, well, not 3,
Yes.
not 3
Yeah.
I was
viewable
about to
versions,
come on to
not
that.
3 viewable
He
versions.
shot pure comedy, pure
Pure horror.
horror, and then a combination of both, which I think the combination was the right way to go.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Worked a lot better for it. Kept the audience more involved, I think, for it as well.
Kept them guessing as well.
Yeah.
Because I think if you'd gone straight with this, it wouldn't have worked. For me, anyway.
So, favourite scenes?
Favourite scenes?
You've gone on for an hour.
My first
Sorry,
first
let's start again.
favourite scene.
Do you want to say it, Richard? You're the title card, you say so.
Okay. Yeah, so favourite scenes.
Like the first scene, which I immediately thought, I love this scene, is when they're crawling under the house, they're having a little bit of a play about with the cameras,
Oh my goodness.
and the grandmother.
That was frightening.
The grandmother then starts chasing him, and I thought it was obviously part of her condition. She'd gone crazy, but then when they get out under there, she's playing about.
I was about to get onto this.
And then you see a butt cheek.
Yeah.
I was about to get onto this. We saw a lot of her ass.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't actually getting onto her ass. Before we move forward more with our favourite scenes, please, we've got to cut that. Before we move forward.
Brilliant.
So yeah, we saw a lot of her ass in this film. But that's not what I'm getting onto. The point I'm getting onto is whenever there was a scene like that, or when she was vomiting, which is one of my favourite scenes because that was sudden change of pace,
Yeah,
bam,
yeah.
oh my god, what's going on? They played it like it was normal. There was always a reason. So the granddad said, oh, she had a stomach bug, and then when she was under the house, she was like, oh God, she's going to attack him, and it was like, oh, we're playing. And even later on, when she was scratching the door, he had the reason if she had that
Sundowners.
Yeah. Which is what the film was distributed as.
Thank you. So there was always a reason, and I really like that they played it straight.
And all the reasons are plausible. You wouldn't think anything is amiss apart from the fact that she's maybe a little bit ill, got something.
But that's also why I think it works as well, where the girl even says to old people things happen to a little brother, and that's why they stay there a lot longer, because there is an explanation for everything that's happening for them.
And let's be honest, they didn't know anything about these grandparents because they hadn't even seen their own daughter, the grandparents, for years. So who were they to know what they were really like? I mean, if their mum had known them and told them lots about them, then they'd have gone, oh, what's going on? But as it was, they were like, well, we don't know anything about them. This could just be how they are. They're getting old. They just want to see us. Let's just...
I think is it the first night the granddad says to them, it's 9:30, we're old, we go to bed. That really sort of lends itself to they're old because they go to bed early. So this weird stuff that's happening is maybe for a reason.
Or I just like going to bed at 9:30.
I like going to bed early now, and I'm only 30.
I do like how when we saw when she's scratching at the door and you're frightened, well, I was frightened, but then he slams the door, the little kid says something like, well, I'm scarred for life. And I think that's when I realised, no, he's actually a good character, because he almost kills the tension after.
I don't think it's not that he kills it, it's that it's just a nice break
communication.
Yeah.
Which is what this film, I think,
it's like it smooths it off just a little bit, and then you can progress to the next scene, and it starts all again, building up.
But then we had the scene where, it's a small scene, the grandma is sat at the table, almost seductively smoking a cigarette, and says hello as the boy walks into something. It was really weird.
It's very out of place.
Yeah, and I was like, that's...
I always thought it was the granddad with the camera.
Oh, yeah, cool, yeah.
For some reason I thought, it's just the way she acted with the person with the camera made me think it was the granddad.
Yeah.
Like she had a mask off for that bit. That makes sense?
Yeah, that's where it came from.
And then there was the scene when they put a stationary camera in the corner of the room.
Oh, that was such a good sequence.
And she just peered in front of it and grabbed the camera and took it round. Because you didn't expect that at all, did you?
That, a little bit under the cellar, and especially the end, spoilers, where she's running around in the dark room at the end just before Becca kills her.
Oh my goodness.
Do you remember the film Wreck? They very much remind me of some of that.
Yeah.
Because the whole film is obviously, it's a possession story told through mental illness, which is ironic since most mental illness was classed as possession hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
But I think the whole story is sort of a horror, supernatural, demonic possession, but with mental illness instead of the demons, which I thought was really good.
And I like the knockbacks to Hansel and Gretel when she had to go in the oven.
Yeah, that was really strange. Yeah.
The first time it happened, more tense than the actual bit where she locks him in.
Yeah.
Where she locks him in, it was more comedy. Oh, this will only take a minute.
But I think it almost played like a dark fairy tale. So maybe, especially the music at the end, as they're leaving the house.
Well, there was a reason. The very, very end.
Well, before we get the final scene where they do the documentary finish.
Oh,
so take the cop car at the end. It was like this really mystical fairy tale-like music.
Well, that had to get explained earlier in the film. When Becca's talking about doing the documentary and the revelation for her mum about the forgiveness, she said she's going to use the opposite music to be ironic. So when that gets played at the end, you realise you're still watching Becca's edit of what actually happened.
The documentary.
She's the one that's edited it. And then, obviously, you have the scene with the father, which is also explained that she originally said she'll never use a scene with the father in because that'll show she's forgiven him. But because you've seen her use this scene, she has forgiven her dad. Not that she's going to talk to him again, but she's learned from, what her mum said to never hold stuff like this in.
Yeah. I think my favourite scene though has to be Yahtzee.
It takes 10 years to be a Yahtzee master.
Because we already know the twist, which I'm going to mention now. So if you don't want to know, don't listen for the next 10 seconds. The two old people they're living with aren't their grandparents. They've killed their grandparents who are in the cellar, and they're escaped mental patients. So, but they're playing the game. You can listen again now.
You can listen again now.
Makes no sense. But they're playing Yahtzee, and it's so funny, and at the same time so tense, because these grandparents aren't their grandparents, and they could do anything to them at any point, but I was still finding myself giggling, especially
All thanks to Peter McRobbie, who's acting again.
Yeah, he's amazing.
because there's a bit where the granddad poos himself, and the grandma starts just eating those little rusks or whatever they are, and just screams at the camera, "Yahtzee!" I was like, "Oh, this is brilliant. This is so surreal and so weird. It has, and I have so many conflicting emotions in my body now. This is brilliant filmmaking." That's what I thought.
Do you have any more scenes?
One small one, which I like it because of how creepy it is and the association with it. Just that scene where I think it's Becca. She walks in because she has a grandma laughing, and she's just there rocking in that chair. People rocking in chairs freaks me out. But I love the way that's
on
done.
The front cover, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I'd forgotten that because I'd actually seen this film 2 or 3 years before we watched it again. Now, I'd forgotten that scene totally. I was like, when does that scene come up? I was like, oh, here we go.
It's not. I don't. It's when you watch it, it comes across as slightly creepy, not to the full effect that I felt it, because it's just people rocking in chairs that does not do it for me.
It's used a lot in film.
Yeah, but that was a really good scene in mine. Loved that.
Well, I had a few scenes. The first one I'm going to discuss, though, is probably not one you thought of. You're at the very beginning where the mum's seeing the kids off on the train, and she's pretending to run, and then as the train really reaches, she starts breaking down and crying. I thought that was fantastic. Catherine Hahn, who plays her mother, I think, she got that perfect.
We haven't mentioned her because the small part she had in the film, she was fantastic.
Yeah. I've only seen her in, most recently, comedies.
She's in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I thought you
Brooklyn, she's in Bad Moms Christmas, and the first Bad Moms film as well.
We've talked about, obviously, the hide and seek under the house.
Yeah.
I thought it was filmed like a proper possession chase, and then at the end...
because the way the view of it's just the camera, isn't it? That they're holding, and they're running around that sort of maze
scene
like
where the grandma's crawling, I'm on it.
Oh yeah.
That bit when she's outside the room running back and forth, and suddenly she starts crawling towards the door, and they slam it. I was like, oh god. But anyway, sorry, Michael.
No, that's all right. To be honest, my favourite scene, and again, hands up to Peter McRobbie for making this 30-second scene work, where she walks in on him with cleaning the shotgun. I'm just cleaning it.
As he's removing it from his mouth.
Yes, he goes from shock, sadness, guilt and embarrassment and humour in a couple of seconds, and he makes the scene work so well. And that scene made me want to look up his other work to see what else he's been in to watch it. I think it just worked very well. I think he made that scene work, which was a very hard thing because you got all them emotions just within a couple of seconds, and they were all believable.
I'd say that. Now, do we have any scenes we don't particularly like?
Yes.
Because
really?
Yes.
Okay, you go first.
Definitely, absolutely 100%, as the end credits are rolling and he's rapping.
Oh, shut up. Shania's weighing bitches.
But that's explained where he... Because don't forget, you're watching the edit of it, and she promised the young lads he could do the rap.
I know, but it's just it makes my skin crawl listening to him rap. Not that I'm any better. He's definitely better than me, but it's the first scene on the train where he raps is okay, but any subsequent rapping scene is
you just have an issue with rapping, don't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I didn't like the scene. They do 2 interviews with the grandma, don't they?
Yeah.
The second one I enjoyed. The first one, and she starts lashing out. I just thought it was a bit too on the nose.
It was a bit too much too soon for the story.
And she was proper flapping and going crazy. You know, like, this is a bit too much, and I think it's a little bit overacted. Just for me.
If it had been later on in the movie, possibly.
Because actually the second interview, she doesn't lash out quite.
She starts smacking her head, and then Becca sort of like comes like, okay, let's tell another story.
That worked where it was. This didn't work for me. Also, a scene which is actually really good, and I didn't understand a bit as well. The young lad interviews his sister after she's interviewed him about his Pee Wee football game, and he goes really hard on her about how she won't look in the mirror. Now, incredible acting by the young girl when she starts to break down. Incredible. I just thought, why is he going so hard on her?
Well, he touched on that. See, when he finally got to her breaking point, he said to her, it's something like it's not nice, has it been on the other side of it?
He was really going for it, and they always...
his
motivation.
His motivation wasn't as, I suppose, brutal in that he just froze on the football field, which for him is probably awful. So she delved into that. So surely it's him, brother and sister, getting back at each other.
Yeah, I just sort of... Anyway, that's just my opinion.
Get it.
It was a bit too hard. You're probably going to tell me exactly why she did it, and I like the scene again, but why did she go down to the basement? Why did she feel the need to go down at that point when everything was going crazy to go down to the basement to find out what was done?
At first, I agree with you.
Right at the end.
It seemed a little bit off. But don't forget, this is the first time they've been in the house without trying to get away after they found out what's going on. I think it just come to her to see if they can find out where the real nan and granddad
But surely she's not young enough to... Surely she'd think, well, if I go down here, they are crazy, we know that now. There's a chance I won't get out. Why did she feel the need to go down there then? I don't know. It worked because it progressed the story and you found out where the grandparents were and you found out they escaped mental patients and it was incredibly scary, so it worked. I just thought, what is her motivation to go down there?
It's the only opportunity she's had to search down there since she found out we're the real nan and granddad, I think.
Okay. And the other one, the well.
Oh, when they're walking and then she just stand there staring at the well.
The well.
Yeah, what's the significance of the well?
Because they go back to the well later.
Don't remember the second interview with the grandma where she explains about the aliens and how to get to the alien planet through the water portals or wherever it is. And then the granddad explains, well, they only get to Alpha Zeta is through the wishing well, because that's where she sees the well and realises.
Yeah, I know Michael would prove us to be completely useless. Of course, that's what it is. So it's not a bad scene at all.
No.
So, gone through favourite scenes. Scenes we're not too sure on. Any other scenes we're not too sure on?
No, scenes as such. Just
even cons.
Only a slight. This is really nitpicking. Just the initial haphazardness of the mother. She hasn't spoken to her mum and dad in years, but happily sends her kids off to.
It's still a mum and dad though. She thinks she's sending them.
Yeah, I know, but they will have never met them.
And don't forget about the guilt the daughter feels.
Yes.
Not about it hitting them, but the guilt the daughter feels because it turns out that the parents tried to contact her years before.
Yeah.
And she turned them
away.
away.
And the day they left each other, they hit each other.
That's right. Yeah.
Father, she did.
She hit the mother, and the father hit her.
She did say at the end that the call was always she could pick up at any point. She could call them, and they'd answer.
They left that left. Oh, did you watch the alternate ending?
Oh no, I didn't.
I did. Because I thought...
It does say on the front of the Blu-ray.
Yeah, and she actually reads a letter from her real mum and dad. And that is pretty heart-wrenching.
Oh no, I'm going to watch that, definitely.
Because I did feel... What I liked about this, what I didn't initially like, and then I liked, was it was a black comedy, but it had a real heart.
Mm-hmm.
Especially that final scene with the mum at the end. And the daughter when she breaks down. And if you watch that alternate ending... I think you could almost watch that segue straight from the first ending into that because it really adds emotional weight to the story even further. Really good, so worth checking out.
I haven't got cons per se. I thought it was a nice low-key return to form for Mr. M. Night. I thought at first all the characters were slightly off, but then it worked within its own confines. What I didn't like per se was obviously the mum's, since the father left, Becca can't look at herself in the mirror and she looks at life through a lens. The mother's got no self-esteem and she's only just now starting to go out with Shell and dating again. But Tyler's coping mechanism was germophobia. I can't remember the actual name of it. I thought the handling of that was slightly off, where you'd only see it like 2 occasions. One with the toilet door and one with his hand.
Now when I'm thinking about it, because he is outside quite a lot, messing in the snow and stuff, throwing a ball around.
Underneath the basement.
Even the hide and seek bit.
Yeah.
In the hide and seek, that's going to be filthy under the house.
You think he'd be more boy in a bubble kind of thing, wouldn't you?
More not a germophobia, it's more his way of controlling things since his dad left. It's the one thing he can control maybe, but at the same time I thought that could be handled better.
It did seem to be used when obvious, so when he'd been to the toilet, when he'd been near a bathroom. You know, they're obvious places where germs are. So it's if they stuck it in then to remind you that he has this phobia.
Yeah.
Just to make that one scene with the nappy.
Oh, wow.
You get a problem with germs, don't you, son?
Have we not referred to that?
We haven't yet, no.
Oh,
when I first watched it, and then when I first watched this film, and then watching it again, I thought that scene. I thought he slowly pushed it into his face, but then when I watched it earlier, it was just like smashed into his face.
I'm with you there. I think when I
For some reason, I remember it.
I watched
slower.
this probably 2 or 3 years ago, and when we first find the big pile of nappies.
Oh yes. That's
grim. And I was like, I remember a scene later on with this. Then it came to me, and then when, as you say, I thought it was a.
Yeah, but then when I watched it, it was like sped up, and I mean that doesn't change the film at all, but I just remember it slightly differently for some reason.
But anyway, yeah, what a scene! Crazy.
Oh my goodness! And then when they actually get the upper hand on him, and he's slamming that fridge door on his head, you don't actually see the grandpa's face. It's just the emotion of opening and closing the door.
That's the callback to Mel Gibson.
Yeah,
callback to Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
And which he refers to in his final epic rap.
Yeah, please don't say that.
It was a very epic rap.
Oh, no.
Because he directed Mel in Signs.
Signs, yeah.
And that called back to the very first Lethal Weapon when Mel Gibson goes mental at the end.
Yeah.
And it made me want to watch Lethal Weapon again.
Which is not a bad thing.
I never thought The Visit would make me want to watch Lethal Weapon again, but it did. So, looking at it, we haven't actually got too many cons.
No, like I said, just that slight bit with the germophobia. I think they could have made it work more, but apart from them few scenes with Tyler and the germophobia, it seemed that all the characters and story worked in the framework M. Night created for the movie. I thought it all really came together, even the last epic rap.
I had a note down here, there was a slight lull just before the twist, but I'm only talking 5 or 10 minutes. Nothing crazy. I mean,
every movie could be tighter.
Yeah.
Well, I think the overall length of the film and the pace is great, but that initial sort of about 15-20 minutes I thought was a little bit slow, but
again it was good character building.
Exactly, yeah. In the grand scheme of things, I can look back and think, no, there is a reason why.
I think this is about 94-95 minutes.
Yeah.
And I always think perfect length for a horror film is about 85. That's just me. And going back to the film I recently watched, A Quiet Place, that is 85 minutes, and it's so tight.
I was just about to say that's a tight
and there is not a space there which you could fill with anything. That's perfect length for me. And if you look at the great horror films, they're always about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So 94 minutes, it's probably about there, and I'm probably nitpicking. If I was going to give it a score, I'd probably give it a 7. I almost gave it an 8. I'm not going to say this is a great film, but it's still very good.
I was just thinking, how do I classify this? Because I like this film, but I like it a lot, but I'm not going to laud it and go, this is amazing. It's a great film, no question. And there's hardly anything wrong with it. But I wouldn't say it's amazing.
I don't think it's a must watch. I think some of Mr. Knight's films are must watch.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say you're going to miss anything out of your life if you don't watch The Visit. I think you're going to miss out on a very good found footage film. And it does bring new elements to the found footage. In some of the black comedy it uses, which you don't usually see in found footage horror films.
I think it's got a self-knowing about it as well.
Yeah,
because
exactly. But the reason I give it a 7, I don't think you're going to miss out on much if you don't watch this. But I'd suggest if you see it somewhere quite cheap, or it's on telly, check it out, because you're not going to not enjoy it. I think it's really good.
If you're a fan of most of his other works, absolutely give it a go, if you've not seen it already.
If you found a good horror film with a comedy edge,
yeah,
check it out.
It's got 2 thumbs from me. 1, I'm glad it got recommended, and I would definitely recommend it to someone else. I think even if it's not a supernatural horror. It's not, but it is a classic possession story, but told through mental illness.
And there's only one. They only make that one reference to, which is telling that story. Isn't there? That's the only time they mention anything possibly supernatural.
It's a definitely straight up cuckoo story.
I think
they love it.
There are parts that me and you missed that Michael caught up with us on. So I think if we watched it again, that is a pro for the film. This is one of the few found footage I could watch again and maybe get something new out of.
It was quite interesting having watched it, knowing what happens, then rewatching it and just trying to pick up on the little things.
Exactly.
Try and get it away.
The twist, because I mean, even the great found, I mean, my personal found footage, I know it's very generic to say this is definitely the first Blair Witch. I know you're not a massive fan, Gaz.
No.
And there are different ways to see the ending of that, but I think it is pretty straight for me anyway. And you only see different things in that ending, perhaps when you read some of the theories online. So I think you see what you see first time. You see the same every other viewing. Whereas this, there are different ways to see it. But I'm still saying the 7. That's my score.
That's fair.
2 thumbs from me. I enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend it.
I would definitely recommend it, absolutely. And a little nod to there's a scene where they're driving along and she's making up a story. She's pointing to the police station, make up a story about that.
Turns out. Was it Jerry at the end when you rang it?
She says, "Oh, there's a cop called Jerry. He just sits about eating donuts and all this." And it actually turns out.
I wanted to go back and listen to see if it was the same name.
I didn't even.
But when the mum calls the cops on the phone,
Hi, this is Jerry. I'm sorry, I can't take the call right now.
It's a message from Jerry, and I just love that little bit.
I can't believe I missed this scene now. And I promise we're wrapping up now. But the scene when they go into town, he just starts beating that guy up.
Oh yeah.
And it's so obviously nothing sinister there.
Yeah.
And suddenly he just.
Actually, just looking at his phone, isn't he, across the street? Yeah. But no, I definitely recommend it. I do like this film a lot. It's worth seeing.
Anyway, we'll finish on some bad news.
Oh.
Bad news for you, Gaz, and bad news for you, man. So unfortunately, Michael and Gareth, it's my choice next.
Oh no.
And I thought to take this in a slightly different vein, we'd let the listeners/viewers decide. Okay. So if you can comment on our video or follow our Twitter.
Hashtag Tamam18, TMAAM18.
You have got a choice of Dario Argento's Phenomena, starring young Jennifer Connelly and Donald Pleasance, or the 80s slasher Madman.
And do you have a preference?
I'm going to tell you now, if no one comments or gives me a reason, I'm going to choose Madman.
Well, I've seen Phenomenon about 20 odd years ago. I can't remember much, but I do like Donald Pleasance. Can't go wrong with Donald Pleasance.
Exactly.
So you said it was based on the same story as
The Burning, the Cropsey legend.
Ooh.
And I love The Burning. I've just bought that one as well. I hope my wife isn't.
Is it the uncut one?
It is. It's the Arrow release, fully uncut with the
I might
scene
have
on
to
the
borrow
boat.
that.
Yeah.
The last version I watched, it was very cut.
Yeah, I had the Vipco release.
That's the one
which I got so excited about the boat scene, and then it came and went. I was like, was that it? And I went online. I was like, that wasn't it, was it? But anyway, let's wrap up. Devon, you gave a.
I recommend it. Highly recommend
you two thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. Glad it got recommended to me, and I will recommend it to someone else.
So please comment on this video, like, subscribe to 3 Men and a Movie.
Ding that bell.
Ding that bell so you get notified when the podcasts go up.
Anyway, it's a goodbye from me, Richard.
And Gareth says goodbye as well.
And it's a goodbye from me, Mike.